And now, Tales from the Mission.
So we were in a remote area of Paraguay, and we had to do a lot of walking every single day. So we walked out to a pretty far out piece of our area, and we did a lot of proselytizing there. We didn't have a whole lot of success that day, so we started walking home. On the way home, there was this factory that a member owned, and this was a super cool member. He would always welcome us in. He was great to talk to. He would always give us some water, and we were super appreciative of that. So we walk into his factory, and he was there. He was like, "Hey, elders, yeah, come over and let's sit down and have a little message." And I was like, "Great, awesome." And when we got there, he had just been talking to two of his employees, and they got up and started walking away as we approached. And he told them, like, "Hey, do you guys want to come and listen to this message?" And one of them was like, "No, I'm okay, I'm good." And another one decided to stay. The one who decided to stay, his name was Carlos. And so we just kind of shared a message about Jesus Christ and encouraged them to serve, and to try and be more like Jesus. And then that member took us home. We called it a night. And I didn't really think much of it at the time. We had invited that member. We reminded him of General Conference, which was that weekend. And we sent an invite to him and to Carlos. Time goes on. We go to conference. And the members start showing up. I'm getting excited. I'm looking to see if there are any investigators. And Carlos came. And I was super blown away by that. I was like, "Carlos, what's going on, man?" And he was like, "Yeah, I'm just wanted to check it out." So he came for conference. We had a great time. And then he left. So afterward, we followed up with him. And we're like, "Hey, what'd you think of conference?" He was like, "Yeah, it was pretty good." And we're like, "Awesome. Did you pray about the message that we left you? And what are your thoughts on it?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did pray about it. And I believe it's true. And I don't think I need to really do any more research. I think I know it's true." And we were blown away. We're like, "Carlos, what are you talking about, man?
Wow.
What's going on?" And he's just like, "Well, let me tell you something. The night that you guys came, I was about to go to the store with my friend. So he ended up going to the store. And because you invited me to stay, I didn't. While he was at the store, my ex-girlfriend and a lot of her brothers and cousins and friends jumped this guy and beat him into an inch of his life. And they all had machetes and stuff like that. And they were asking where Carlos was because this gal was crazy. She was out of her mind. I guess it was a bad breakup. And so they kept asking this friend, "Where is Carlos? Where is he?" And the guy was just like, "I have no idea." And so he got back and he told Carlos, like, he was like, "Man, it's a really good thing you didn't go because they were going to kill you." And so Carlos looked at that and basically came to the conclusion that God had put us in his path to save his life that night. And he was really grateful for it. And that was a really powerful moment on my mission where I was able to see firsthand some more of that divine timing.
That's a pretty big sign, That's a pretty big sign that you're in the right place. If the wrong place would have been death, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think that's a great story. Mine has something to do with divine timing as well. We were on exchanges, which is, I feel like a lot of miracles happen when you're not with your regular companion. Just a side note. I don't know why that is, but it's just easier to be
shaking things up. Yeah.
Yeah, you just got to change things up. And we had focused as a zone on trying to be more bold, right? And that's something as as you and I both know, we've struggled with terribly as home folk. Like
that's right.
I'm a hyper agreeable person.
Our spirit animals are
the earth is flat. Yeah. You could tell me the earth is flat, and the first thing I do is nod just out of it's reflex. Like, sure, yeah, whatever. Yeah. Just don't bring conflict to my life. Like
that's right.
I just don't like conflict.
Our conflict type is avoidance. Yeah.
Yeah. Avoidance or agreeance. Like and the mission is is filled with conflict because you're asking people to change their belief system for the better. So we went on this exchange. We had like 10 minutes left before we were to go back and switch back to our companions. We thought, okay, we have 10 minutes left. Let's just go into this apartment building and let's see what we can do. So I turned to my companion for the day, and he said, "I'll pick the floor, you pick the door." I'm like, okay, cool. So we went into the building, knowing we could only knock one or two doors. He picked the third floor, went up there. I picked the door, and as I was knocking on it, I remember going through my mind, because when you're speaking a different language, you're very narrow in your vocabulary. So I would have like 3 introductions that I would practice, like
Yeah.
if I'm feeling spicy, I'll do number 3, but usually I do number 1. And, it's just like the same 10 words, just, combined in different ways to make it sound different.
Yeah.
So I had like, all right, I'm doing number 3. It's the spiciest one I've got in my barrel there.
Let's see how
And
this goes.
She opened the door, and I remember thinking I was saying my regular introduction, but what really came out is, we are representatives of Jesus Christ, sent here to deliver this book to you and invite you to join his church by through baptism under the proper authority. And that is not an introduction I've ever used before at that point. That's nothing I'd ever tried. Say, hey, we were sent here by God to give you this book. Now it's time for you to get baptized, is essentially what we said. And she looked at us and she said, okay. Like, oh,
wow,
great. Okay. And so she was actually on the phone, and she told her mom that she had to call her right back and put the phone down. And we didn't have a lot of time because like the bus was going to leave and we were in a different area. So we had to get out of there. But we wrote down our information in the book. We said, these are the elders and usually in this area. Like, this is, please contact them. We're going to send them send them to you again to follow up. And she said, that's great. I got a letter. Like, I didn't think about it after that. We just thought it was a good experience. And we thought ultimately she was stunned into saying, okay, that she just kind of said, okay, to get us out the door.
Flabbergasted. Yeah.
Yeah. And then about like 2 or 3 months later, I get a letter from the mission office saying, congratulations for being a part of the experience of helping this person reach baptism. I thought, whoa, that is amazing. That is so cool. Turns out that she had actually been praying for weeks about which church to join. She'd been praying for a long time and wrestling with this idea of like, she needs to find a church. She was an immigrant. She just recently moved to Canada. She really needed to find a place and community where she could worship God. And she was complaining to it, I believe, if I remember correctly, she was complaining to her mom about it on the phone of not knowing what to do when we knocked on the door and invited her to come to church and be baptized. And she said, that was enough for me. And after that, she read the Book of Mormon, gained a testimony, and was quickly baptized afterwards. So
wow.
It was a great opportunity to see how that divine timing works, and being able to pick a floor and then a door and realize that that's exactly where we needed to be.
Yeah.
And, the fact that the sister missionaries got to teach her and everything, and I didn't get to be a part of that's a little sad. But
but I think it goes to the point
sisters.
of like, there are a lot of times where people get too far into their heads thinking like, is this my voice? Is this the Spirit's voice guiding me? I think at a certain point, you just kind of have to forget yourself a little bit and just say, all right, I'm just going to move forward and just trust that God's going to guide me where I need to go. And oftentimes,
Absolutely.
if you kind of adopt that mentality and just get out of your own head, you find that God directs you in ways that you wouldn't realize you needed to be directed at first, and you probably wouldn't have thought as you were trying to have this internal debate the whole time,
Oh yeah, and like let's be clear, my French was not good, right? So it probably came out very ineloquent. It probably came out as, we're like Jesus, come to church with us, get baptized, like it probably came out that simple.
Really
but
bad,
something rang true to her in that, as opposed to my more polished practice introductions, invitations that really stuck out to me. And it helped me change and be more bold in sharing the gospel with people after that, because it had such a profound effect.
Real quick before we go, we wanted to extend an invitation to anybody who has mission stories that they'd like to share. You've got an open invite to come on the show, share your stories. Also, if you have any family history stories, we're going to be starting a new segment featuring great stories from family history, pioneers, or even pioneers in your own family. Everyone's got an open invite, so just contact us in the comment section, and we'll start getting those stories in the show.